morning, students. I would like to welcome all of you in the digital class session of biology. Now, today I am going to continue with that same chapter which I had already discussed in your previous classes, and the name of the chapter is Improvement in Food Production. So, please make sure that you are paying attention in class in order to get your concepts absolutely clear. So, let's proceed forward with today's discussion. So today's first topic of discussion will be management of farm and farm animals. Management means application of newer ideas by which useful materials and labors are employed successfully to produce and market a valuable product so as to improve the overall process. Farm management is the controlled and scientific handling of farm animals in their rearing, breeding and caring so as to maximize their yield. It involves optimum feed, clean drinking water, a proper shelter, immunization, care and selective breeding. So now let's focus on poultry. So what is poultry? Poultry is basically defined as the industry in which economically important and food producing birds are cultured. There are types of different poultry birds. Principally, poultry birds comprise of fowl and duck. However, presently some other birds have been taken as poultry birds, namely guinea fowl, peafowl, swans, and etc. Poultry birds are commonly cultured for production of meat. There are different breeds of fowl. Breeds of fowl are mainly of two types, such as pure breed and hybrid breed. What do you mean by pure breed? The breeds which maintain the same features since their origin are known as pure breeds. The pure breeds are further classified depending on their place of origin, body weight, economic utility, sitting efficiency, etc. Now, some important breeds of fowl are there are four types of breeds of fowl found on the basis of their origin, and they are Mediterranean breed, American breed, English breed and Asian breed. So for Mediterranean breed, that these have been absolutely available in the region surrounding the Mediterranean Sea, like your white leghorn, Minorca. American breed, these are available in America, like Plymouth Rock, New Hampshire, New Hampshire, Rhode Island breed, okay. Then English breed, now these breeds are available in England, okay. Now some examples of this are like Australorp, okay, Dorking, Cornish, Red Carp. Asian breeds, these breeds are available in Asia, like you can, for example, it's like Asil, okay. There are breeds of fowl on the basis of their economic importance, okay. Now, on the basis of economic importance, the breeds of fowl are basically classified into three types. They have been termed as your laying breed, dual breed and table breed. Laying breed means this type of fowl lay more eggs, like Leghorn, Minorca. These are the example. Dual breeds are like the breeds which may give both meat and egg in sufficient amount, are of this type, like Sussex, New Hampshire, okay. Table breed, the fowl that is cultured only for meat production is known as table breed, like broiler. Alright. Breeds on the basis of sitting capacity. These includes two varieties of fowl, non-sitter and sitter. Non-sitter means the fowls those do not like sitting on the eggs are of this category, like Leghorn, and sitter means those who like to sit on the eggs, like Asian breeds. Now there are also breeds available on the basis of weight. There are two varieties of breeds of this category, namely your light class, that is Leghorn, and heavy class, that is Rhode Island Red. Okay. Now fowl diseases and control. Diseases in fowl may be of two types, known as your infectious and non-infectious, very common. These are the two basic types of diseases that have been found. The non-infectious diseases are mainly due to deficiency of nutrition, like your rickets due to deficiency of vitamin D, and paralysis for deficiency of vitamin B2, porosis due to deficiency of vitamin B5. The infectious disease occur due to infection by different microorganisms. Symptoms and remedies for several diseases generally vary from each other. Okay. Poultry farming for fowls. There are various methods of poultry farming, okay, for fowls. For example, conventional fowl farming is in open space fowl farming in cages and farming by deep litter system. Okay, so for business purpose, poultry farming in deep litter system is the best method. Deep litter system of poultry farming for fowl. Litter means the bed of grass. In the poultry house, a bed formed of grass, hay, etc. of a depth of about 20 cm is known as deep litter. Farming of fowls in the room having deep litter is known as deep litter system. Requirements for the deep litter system are house or room. Okay, the house or room for the deep litter system is actually a large cage in the form of house made up of wood and bamboo. Such an enclosure is usually well lighted and with the arrangement for well circulation of air. The roof of the house is usually contains shed made of tins or asbestos. The floor of the house is initially cleaned with lime and then bleaching powder. Okay. Following this, the floor is dried and then the litter is spread on the floor, which is formed with sawdust, cottonseed, paddy or barley husk, dried stems of maize and sugarcane and small pieces of hay. At the initial phase, sawdust is spread on the floor and over that hay sticks are spread to make the litter about 10 to 15 cm thick. Now when this litter becomes mixed fully with fecal matters of fowl, a litter of about 5 cm thick is again spread over it. Thus a litter of about 20 cm is been prepared. The floor of the farmhouse should have wooden planks with a height of about 5 feet. Now the walls of the house is also been fitted with the nest where they can lay eggs within the house. Pot of food. The pot of food for the fowl should be such that during taking of the food it does not get spilled in any way. Further, a fowl should not get much food unnecessarily. Okay. Water container. The fowls should be provided with water in a pot. The pot of water should be such that it does not get overturned easily. Sometimes automatic water fountain is used as water source of the fowls in a farmhouse. Pot of sand for bath. The fowls do not bath in water, rather they take a sand bath in dry condition. For this reason, a farmhouse is provided with a big pot filled with sand, dust and charcoal, with which they can take a bath as per advice. The resting bar. Usually a wooden bar is fitted horizontally in the farmhouse along the side walls. On this wooden bar, the fowls generally take rest when it's been absolutely of necessity. Okay. Now there are certain advantages of poultry farming, like poultry farming helps in earning money and production of nutritious food. It also provides a scope for rearing fowl with less expenditure. Money invested may be returned within a short period in this method. Okay. The system does not require expensive instruments. For preparation of farm, much land area is not required. Unfavorable atmosphere also does not cause any loss to the farmer. For such a method of poultry farming, the farmer may get sufficient instructions and knowledge from nearby government department. Beside, improved variety of chicks and necessary appliances may also be available easily to the farmer. Poultry farming generates a good amount of food and economic value. Okay. So now let's move into the next topic, which deals with the concept of dairy farm management. The milk yielding animals like cows, buffaloes, goat and sheep etc. are included in dairy farm. Cows and buffaloes generally give more milk than milk yielding animals like goat and sheep. Only 39% of the milk in the country is consumed as such. The remaining has been converted to various milk products like butter, ghee, yogurt, curd, lassi, skimmed milk powder, whole milk powder, cheese, etc. So in dairy management, increase in yield and improvement of quality are dealt with the following, like methods of livestock improvement. Breeding of the farm animals should be with superior quality males and females. Uneconomic or less productive animals should be avoided. Animals should be fed with balanced food in adequate quantity. Housing arrangement, cleanliness and hygienic conditions should have proper management. Healthcare. A veterinary doctor must visit the cattle shed at regular intervals. Proper medical treatment and vaccination is essential. Sick and physically weak animals should be separated and given medical treatment. Cattle shed. A spacious, airy shed with sloping cemented floor and other requisite arrangements should be provided in the shed. Suitable environmental condition. Adequate ventilation, suitable temperature, sufficient light, water, air should be provided. Resistance to disease. Farm animals should have all sorts of healthy arrangements so that they develop resistance and remain protected from diseases. Domestication of animals. The rearing of animals for specific purposes is called domestication, and such animals are called domestic animals. So when man was hunter-gatherer, from that time domestication of animals started. However, sometimes domestication of animals was directed to transportation of materials. Again, it was also essential for agriculture. Therefore, domestication of animal has become a supportive venture in the path of human civilization. The domesticated animals are known as livestock. Commonly, they have been termed as livestock. Okay, so India has one of the largest livestock population in the world, accounting for 57% of the world's buffalo population and 14% of the cattle population. Okay. Now, among the livestock, several important animals are like cattle, buffalo, sheep, goat, donkey, horse, elephant, pig, camel, and poultry birds. Okay. The branch of agriculture which deals with feeding, shelter, health, and breeding of domestic animals is called animal husbandry. Cattle, like several breeds of cows come under cattle. Their scientific species name is Bos sp. Okay. In India, almost every house domesticates cattle group of animals. So it comes to various uses of man. Okay. Buffalo, Bubalis are also identical to the cattle and they belong to the family Bubelinae. Okay. Bubalis belong to a subfamily of the genus Bos. Among all the cattle in India, buffaloes represent 1/3 of the total. Buffaloes are basically used for milk production and transportation. Besides, their skin is also used in leather industry. The buffalo milk exhibits more mineral content than that of cows. Okay. Goat and sheep in India, sheep, that is Ovis aries, and goat Capra hircus are prominent among domesticated animal. These animals are domesticated almost in all countries. Domestication of goat started from 6700 BC. For the purpose of obtaining wool, milk, meat and leather, these two animals would be domesticated. However, sheep principally for wool, goat principally for meat get importance. Okay. Now, pellets of sheep and goats are used as superior quality fertilizers. However, famous wools, namely Pashmina, okay, they are being obtained from Angora and Kashmiri goat. Okay. Pig, though pig is less favored in India, the scientific name is Sus scrofa. Okay. It's been less favored in India, but in many other countries of the world, they are considered very important in consideration to economic development. Principally, pigs are taken as source of meat, and different meat products are ham, bacon, sausage. Okay. The fats of the pig are used in soap production. Brushes are made from the hair of pig, and the skin is also used for leather goods. So, in our country, normally poor people domesticate pigs. Okay. So now let's focus on the next topic, that is animal breeding. Production of improved breeds of domesticated animals by improving their genotypes through selective breeding is only termed as animal breeding. Now there are certain objectives of animal breeding like increased production of milk, eggs, meat and wool, improved qualities of milk, eggs, meat and wool, higher growth rate, increased resistance to various diseases, prolonged productive life, acceptable reproduction rate, etc. Now there are methods, mainly two main methods of breeding. What I wanted to say, there are two main types of animal breeding. So that are being inbreeding and outbreeding. So what do you mean by inbreeding? Now it means mating between animals of the same breed for 4 to 6 successive generations. Remember, 4 to 6 successive generations. So this method shows good result in case of cows, buffaloes, poultry, etc. Mating between superior cows and superior bulls of the same breed are good examples of inbreeding. Progenies obtained in the first generation are evaluated for superiority and identified for further mating. A superior female is female cow I'm talking about, is been selected that produces more milk. Similarly, a superior male, that is bull, is been selected that produces superior progeny in comparison to other males. Okay. However, inbreeding results in increased homozygosity. Okay, so homozygous condition expresses some harmful recessive alleles due to selection. Alright. Now next breeding is outbreeding. Meeting between unrelated animals which may be of the same breed, different breed, or between two different species is only termed as outbreeding. Now outbreeding accordingly is of three different types. That is, first one is outcrossing, which means between individuals of the same breed having different ancestors. Crossbreeding, which means between different breeds, and you have interspecific hybridization, which means between different species it is going to take place. Okay, so I'll explain you all the terms properly once again. Now, what outcrossing? Two unrelated male and female animal of the same breed are basically crossed. Animals should not have common ancestors for 4 to 6 generation. The offspring produced in such a cross is called an outcross. Outcrossing overcomes inbreeding depression and is the best breeding method for animals that are below average in productivity. Crossbreeding, it is meeting between superior males of one breed and superior female of another breed. The hybrid progeny develops many of the desirable traits of both the breeds. Many new animal breeds have been developed by this method. Okay. Hisar Dill is an example of new breed of sheep developed in Punjab by crossing Bikaneri, Evis and Merino rams. Okay. And then is your interspecific hybridization. It is also a meeting between male and female animals belonging to two different species. Now, hybrids are generally sterile in case of domestic animals and are different from both the parental species. But in some cases, the hybrid may develop desirable characters of both the parents. Okay. Now, controlled breeding experiments can be carried out by artificial insemination and multiple ovulation embryo transfer technology. Okay. Now, artificial insemination means it's the introduction of suitable amount of semen in the reproductive tract of the female when she is in the heat in order to bring about fertilization of released ovum. Now, this process has several advantages, like semen can be stored in low temperature for future use. During natural process, excess amount of sperm has been released and spoiled. This can be prevented in artificial insemination during using proper doses. Semen of a single bull is sufficient to inseminate a few hundred females. The males of high-yielding breeds can be kept in an environment suitable for them. The spread of certain diseases can also be controlled by this method. And the second one is multiple ovulation embryo transfer technology. In this method, by injecting hormones to the cow with FSH, which stands for follicle stimulating hormone, like your activity, it's FSH like activity, many ova, like 6 to 8 ova may be released at a time from the ovary. Following this, the eggs may be fertilized artificially. The process has been termed as your artificial insemination, and the fertilized egg, which is going to be 8 to 32 cell stage embryo, may be implanted in the uterus of the surrogate mother. So this will lead to the production of several calves at a time. The genetic mother is available for another super ovulation. So this technology that has been used in cattle, sheep, buffalo, horse and rabbits. Attempts have been made to develop high-yielding females and high-quality meat-yielding males in cattle. Okay. So now let's move into the next topic, which deals with the concept of beekeeping. Okay. So the method pertaining to the culture of honeybee by artificial methods and collection of honey from beehive is called beekeeping or apiculture. Okay. Now, honeybees are a type of social insect and they live by forming colony. So in a bee colony, there are various types of bees like queen, drones and workers. So obviously all of them have some definite characteristics and some allotted functions which they need to perform. Like queen is the principal character in a bee colony, and in a beehive normally one queen is present. The queen bee is meant for production of eggs in the beehive, and she is taken care of by the worker present in the colony. So one queen bee usually lives for 2 to 3 years. So the function of the queen bee is only of laying eggs, construction of beehive, collection of nectar, taking care of the larvae, etc. in the beehive are the functions of the workers only, okay, not of the queen. Drones. In a colony there remain several drones. The drones are basically fertile and they can perform mating with the female. During nuptial flight, only one drone from a colony performs mating with the female, and after the mating, what happens, the male dies. So after about 10 days of its birth, the male is capable of mating. So normally a male will live for 50 to 60 days, okay. But drones are usually very lazy and do not collect food, but take enough food collected by the workers. So what is the function of drones? Male basically participate with female in the process of reproduction. Males do not participate in any work in the colony, okay. And then comes your workers, the diploid larvae, those of which grow by taking honey and be bred, okay, develop into workers. In a bee colony, the workers constitute about the whole population in the colony. Like, what are the functions? Construction of the beehive, collection of honey and nectar, cleaning of the beehive, rearing of the juveniles, guarding the beehive, serving the female and drones in the colony, okay. So now let's focus on methods of beekeeping. Artificial culture of honey bees by scientific method for obtaining honey is called apiculture or beekeeping. The location where beekeeping is performed in great extent is known as apiary. In India, beekeeping is practiced by two methods, such as indigenous method and scientific method. Now, indigenous method basically comprises the method of collection of honey from the beehives from the surrounding regions. In this system, there is no arrangement for giving protection to the bees, and the bees are also not reared. Beehives are prepared by the bees in the forest, which are also isolated, calm, and are in quiet environment near the domestic house in rural areas. The beehives are identified, and then bees are basically driven out from the hives by manipulation. Then honey is basically collected from the beehives with absolute ease. To drive the honey bees, usually fire, water or smoke is being used as a repellent to the flies. Now there are certain difficulties in this method, like the honey bees may not construct the hive in artificial dwelling places. The system cannot control the activities of the honey bees, hence they may leave the nest easily. The enemies of honey bee may attack them at ease. Now it is difficult to prevent the theft of honey. Honey obtained in this method is hardly pure, okay. And then comes your scientific method. Now in 1851, Langstroth, now it has also been pronounced as Langstroth, okay, developed movable frame hive, and with the invention of this device, beekeeping has been scientific. The steps of beekeeping in this method basically includes arrangement of necessary appliances, selection of bee pasture, collection of honeybees efficient for production honey, and rearing of honeybees, and then comes your extraction of honey, okay. So the first one is arrangement of necessary appliances. Like, different appliances for beekeeping are movable frame, okay, hive foundation, apparatus for honey extraction, appliances to prevent honeybees from stinging, bee brush, and device for swarm collection, okay. Now movable frame, it is also known as Langstroth chamber. So movable frame is known as Langstroth chamber. This device usually contains a wooden skeletal structure in which several wooden frames may be inserted or taken out very easily. Some of these frame basically serves as a brood chamber. You can follow the picture. Like an ideal Langstroth chamber usually contains a stand, a bottom board, a brood chamber, standard Langstroth frame, super inner cover, broad top cover, and sloping top cover, okay. Comb foundation. Now comb foundation represent one wax made thick sheet containing many artificially made hexagonal chambers over a frame. So over a sheet of 10 hexagonal impressions, they have been developed, and over this wax layer is being developed to form the comb foundation. So this foundation sheet is fixed with the frame by wires. Then comes your honey extraction equipment. To collect pure honey from the hive, this appliance has been used. A drum containing a cage made up of net gives the structure of the extraction apparatus. Now there is a central bar in the cage and it is inserted through an aperture on the iron plate. The central bar above contains a wheel which has been associated with another wheel at its sides. Okay, so the bar is combined with ball and bearing at the bottom of the drum. So the drum generally measures about 30 cm in diameter, 43 cm in height, and it remains fitted with an exit tap at lower side wall. Okay, the equipment for handling bees. Now to prevent sting of honey bees, the equipments which are used are smoker, hive tool, overall bee veil, etc. Bee brush. With the help of this brush, the bees are removed from the beehive. Equipments for catching swarm. For establishing a new colony of bees, collection of many bees together is very much essential, and this is only known as swarm collection. Okay, now bee pasturage. Now the vegetation or trees those provide nectar to the bees together constitute the bee pasturage. Now bee pasturage is essential to be present near an apiary. Now the bees depend on the pasturage for food and nectar from which they can prepare honey. So trees like mango, lemon, guava, blackberry are prepared by the honeybees for nectar, and on the other hand, carrot, mustard, coriander, goat, pumpkin, onion, pea, beet, radish, brinjal, etc. are preferred vegetable plants for their nectar collection. Okay, so beside these, the bees also collect nectar from wild flowering plants and the plants cultivated in horticulture. Collection of honeybees. Honeybees are collected from a beehive. The bee collector first covers his body with appropriate garments and bee veil, and then with the help of the equipment for catching of swarm, he collects the bees from a hive. So one queen and some workers are set free in a bee box. Now with this, more and more honeybees join them in the form the colony. They construct the brood chamber in the boxes, and then the queen lay eggs in the hive. Okay, now rearing of honeybee. Now beekeeping needs care of the bees in a colony, especially during unfavorable condition when the flowering trees are depleted in the surrounding. The bees face scarcity of food and they leave the hive. In such condition, the bees are to provide food artificially. Okay, so condensed solution of sugar at a concentration of 1 kg sugar in 8 liter water is being kept in an open container near the bee box. Extraction of honey. Conventionally, honey is extracted from the hive by squeezing after removing the bees from the hive. In this method, the hive is completely disintegrated and the honey collected is also not pure. Collected honey remains mixed with larval body, wax, debris, etc. So, however, by present scientific method, honey is basically collected by the use of this honey extraction apparatus. Okay. Beehive. The honeybees usually construct the beehive on the branches of the trees or along the ceiling of the house. The worker bees, with the help of their secretion from the abdominal wax glands, which constructs the hive. The beehive is composed of many hexagonal chambers, and all the chambers are defined for their utility. Okay, so the chambers at the top of the beehive are used by the bees for storing honey. Immediately below the honey chambers, the cells are also used for inhabitation of the brood of workers, and below these there are the chambers for the broods of drones, and lastly at the lower side of the hive the chambers are for queen broods. Okay, now let's focus on products of beehive. Like the first one is honey. Honey is the main product from the beehive, and honey is actually an aqueous solution of sugar containing little mineral salt, vitamin, enzymes, protein, and various flavored components. Worker honeybees, after collecting nectar from different plants, store it in their crop with the help of enzymes from salivary glands. Sugar is converted into glucose, fructose, and levulose. The honeybees then regurgitate the honey from the crop to the honey cell and constantly blow air with the help of their wings. So with this, water is being evaporated and honey is being prepared from the regurgitated material. So there are different uses of honey. Like honey is energy producing nutritious food. So for this, honey should be used as food for weak patients. For preparation of jam, jelly, syrup, honey is used in lieu of sugar. Honey is also used for preparation of biscuits, cake, pudding. It will be also used in preparation of toffee, candy, salad. Also helps in preparation of drinks. Conventionally, honey is being used in preparation of medicine. Honey is used from old days. Taking of honey by athletes and trekkers is good for health. Now, in the morning time, taking of honey with tea is very useful. Honey mixed tea is very good for rheumatism. In children, honey appears to be useful in malnutrition, okay, anemia, insomnia, cough and cold. In removal of constipation, honey appears to be very much useful. It's of acute uses. In Ayurvedic medicine, honey is used as supporting food. Honey also helps in healing of wound during winter. Honey is being rubbed on the skin to prevent cracking, okay. Honey also helps in healing of wound. Alright, in western countries, honey is used in dairy industries, wine industries, chewing gum preparation, to energize the horse in racing game, to make a cow more milk productive. Now, in various ritual works such as worshipping and Shraddh, honey is being used. After hard labor, taking of appropriate amount of honey gives much relief. Then comes your bee wax. The bee wax is the secretion from wax gland at the abdomen of worker honeybee. It is basically yellowish and grayish brown substance having a specific odor. Wax is insoluble in water but soluble in ether and chloroform. Its melting point is about 63 to 65 degrees Celsius. Now, there are certain uses of beeswax. Like wax is used in the preparation of many cosmetic substances like face cream, lipsticks, blusher, lotion, etc. Wax is also used in preparation of shaving creams, okay. In the preparation of shoe polish, floor polish, furniture polish, wax is also being used. It is also used as an insulator in various electrical appliances. Wax is also used as a lubricant in different machines. In preparation of ink and model, wax is used as medium, okay. Wax is used in the preparation of candles. In boutique designing, wax is used to make leather waterproof. Wax is applied over it as a smear. Preserved fruits or jams in bottles are kept in airtight condition with the help of wax sealing, okay. Bee venom is used in the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis, high blood pressure, cholesterolemia, and eye disease. Royal jelly is basically used to increase energy, okay, appetite, and induce the endocrine gland functions. Propolis, it is one type of resin which is being used to repair the cracks in the beehive. Propolis has a medicinal value and this may be used as protective material for the skin from radiation. Pollen, in treatment of various energy related treatment, pollens are being collected from the beehive, okay. Now let's concentrate on fishery or pisciculture. Culture, harvesting and preservation of economically important as well as edible aquatic animals like different fishes, crustaceans like prawns, crabs, mollusks like snails, bivalves and cuttlefishes are being considered as fishery. However, culture and cultivation of all these economically important aquatic organisms and their exploitation for economy is known as aquaculture. Aquaculture includes pisciculture, pearl culture, prawn culture, etc. Now, pisciculture means culture of fishes in aquatic bodies. Pearl culture means culture of pearl oysters for harvesting pearls from them. So, prawn culture comprises of culture of prawns for food and economy. Now, there are different divisions of fisheries. Like primarily, fishery may be divided into two types, namely inland fish and marine fish. Now, each of these fisheries are again divided into several branches. So first I'll tell you about inland fishery. Now, for the purpose of fishery, when water bodies confined in the landmass of the countries are used, it is known as inland fisheries. Like freshwater fishery, when in fishery water bodies used contains fresh water, it is known as freshwater fisheries. Then freshwater fisheries can also be classified as riverine, lacustrine, or lake fishery and pond fishery. The riverine fishery, if you go by the word, it just refers to harvesting of fishes and other aquatic animals from the river. Like your example, rohu, katla, mrigil, okay. Lake fishery, when lakes or large water reservoirs are used in fishery, it is known as lake fishery. Like beside the fishes are indicated before, from a lake fishery, prawns may also be harvested. Pond fishery, culture of fishes and their harvesting in small confined water bodies is known as pond, okay, are called pond fishery. Alright, so pond fishery is principally used for carp culture besides chana, mistas, bowl. Then comes your putti, tilapia, geol fishes like koi, catfishes, etc. Minor carps may also be obtained from pond fishery. And then comes your brackish water fishery. Cultivation and harvesting of fishes in slightly salty brackish water is known as brackish water fishery. Now, this type of fishery is basically practiced in the water bodies in the regions near the estuary. Now, from brackish water fishery, we usually obtain the fishes like bhetki, topse, okay, parse, hilsa, tangra, prawn, etc. Marine fishery. Harvesting of fishes or other aquatic animals from sea water is called marine fishery. It is to be pointed out that in marine water, culture of fishes and their management is practically impossible. Therefore, only harvesting is the main practice in the fishery. Marine fishery may also be divisible into as like coastal fishery and offshore fishery. Coastal fishery means this refers to harvesting of fishes from the waters of coastal region. From such fisheries we obtain usually lates, Bombay duck, mackerel, hilsa, pomfret, etc. Okay. Now, offshore fishery or deep sea fishery, harvesting of fishes or other aquatic animals from deep sea water for food and economy is being termed as deep sea or offshore fishery. Now, with the aids of boat, trawlers, steamers, and ships, people generally use large nets and other devices to harvest fishes from the deep sea water. So, these fishes may be obtained from deep sea regions, which are sharks, cod, salmon, halibut. Okay. Carp. The freshwater bony fishes having swim bladder, the body is been covered with cycloid scales but having no respiratory, or I shall say accessory respiratory organs, without tooth which has been present on the jaws, no teeth, no tooth, so forget about any kind of tooth, and have no scales on the head, which are being these specimens are only termed as your carps. Now, carp is classified into endemic and exotic carp. Endemic carp is further classified into major and minor. So, for major it's rohu, katla, mrigil. Okay, for minor it's bata, puti, shoral puti, and for exotic it's been silver, grass, cyprinus. Okay. Now, endemic carp, the carps which have originated in India and are adapted in Indian climate with reproductive potentiality, of course, is known as your endemic carp. For major carp, the endemic carps which are absolutely larger in size and having significant commercial value, those are known as your major carp. And minor carps are the endemic carps which are being smaller in size and economically less important, are known as your minor carps. Okay. Exotic carps, the carps which have been brought to India from some other countries and are adapted in Indian climate and which may reproduce comfortably in this climate, are known as your exotic carp, like silver carp, grass carp, cyprinus carp, tilapia. Okay. So now let's focus on 4 types of major carps. Like the first one is rohu. What are the features of rohu? Body has been spindle shaped, tail fin is bifurcated, head is triangular, mouth is terminal and barbels are found to be present. Dorsal body surface is absolutely blackish red and lateral surface are silvery with faintly reddish fins. What is the habitat of rohu? Rohu is known as column feeder and it lives in the intermediate layer of water bodies like rivers, ponds, okay, canals, lakes, and these are being the common ones. Now, katla, head is large in size with broad intermediate body and tail fin is bifurcated. Mouth aperture is broad with lips bent upward. Barbels are also absent. Dorsal body surface is grey and ventral surface is white with silvery lateral surfaces. So, katla is known as your surface feeders and therefore it likes to live in the surface water. Okay, so like rohu fish, katla is also available in water bodies like river, canal, lake, and ponds having fresh water. Mrigil, what are the characteristic feature? Body elongated, slender, and cylindrical. Head comparatively small with mouth aperture bent downwards. Short barbels are present. Body has been silvery white in color. So, what is the habitat? Mrigil is known as bottom feeder, hence it lives at bottom region of a water body. Fresh water bodies like rivers, lakes, canals, and ponds are the common habitats of mrigil. Okay. Kalbasu. The body is spindle shaped with slightly broader mid body portion than the body of rohu. Mouth aperture slightly bent downward, and at the two sides of the mouth, two short barbels are present. Dorsal body surface is quite dark, but the lateral sides are slightly reddish with ventral grey surface. So Calbasso is also the bottom feeder. They live in all freshwater bodies as mentioned before. So now let's focus on three exotic carps. Like first one is Cyprinus carp or American rohu. Body comparatively small with swollen abdomen. Head is comparatively small and narrow. Body is faintly yellowish with yellowish red fins. Okay. Habitat is like bottom dwellers and live in the bottom region of freshwater bodies as ponds, lakes, rivers, etc. Then comes the grass carp. Okay, head pointed anteriorly and without any barbel. Body is faintly greenish but fins are slightly blackish. Presence of sharp teeth in the esophagus. Okay, now habitat is like this, that grass carp is the column feeder and lives in freshwater bodies like rivers, lakes, ponds, etc. Then comes your silver carp. Features are like body shapes like hilsa with dorsoventrally flat body having pointed terminal ends. Head is triangular with pointed terminal ends. Lips bent slightly upward. Lateral line of sense organ very prominent containing darkish tail fin. What is the habitat? Silver carp is the surface feeder and lives in freshwater bodies as pond, lakes and river. Okay. So for today it is this much. Now it's your responsibility to go through this presentation properly. If you have any problem or query regarding this topic or any other topic that is included in your syllabus, then please feel free to communicate with me. So my mail ID has been provided at the end of the presentation. So if you have any problem, you can communicate with me in that given mail ID. So thank you and have a great day.